your mind can radically improve your life. And your mind can make your life a living hell. It can make you, it can destroy you. Why is that so? Because the quality of our life, mine and yours, is a reflection of the quality of the decisions that we make. And we make those decisions because of the conclusions that we came to. And we came to those conclusions because of the thoughts that you and I think. This is the easiest, the fastest, the most efficient way, but unfortunately the most ignored way to change your life is to start changing your thoughts. And you might say, yes, but this is very complicated. This is not so easy. What if this is much easier than you thought? Because I can promise you one thing, that your life will be split in two, before this masterclass and after this masterclass. How do I know that? Because it changed my life, it changed the life of other hundreds of people, and it can change your life too. The next 60, 70, 90 minutes, as long as it takes, if you can sit through this masterclass, and not only sit through, but you're going to take some notes, you're going to take a piece of paper and a pen, and you're going to draw, you're going to answer the questions that I've prepared for you, your life will be different. So today I'm going to teach you how to change your thoughts, so that you can change your life. How are we going to do that? Let's begin. Welcome to Exploraself, Master Wisdom and Leadership for Business and Life. My name is Alexandr, and I will teach you today 3 frameworks that are going to make this process much, much easier. And after that, you'll say, that's amazing. The title of this video is Mind the Mind Gap. The gap between your past and future is shaped by the decisions you make, and the quality of those decisions depends on the quality of your thoughts. And you'll say, sounds good, but how? How can I make it happen? Because that's not easy. I understand, I know how my mind sometimes works against me, and I know how powerful I am when I can control my thoughts. Let's make it easy. We want to first aim at these 3 questions. These are not the main 3 questions. I have another 3 questions, but just to give to set them the setup, the perimeter of our conversation. Am I wired or am I fired? Is my brain doomed to struggle? Because many people believe that I'm just not as smart as others, and those who are very smart, sometimes they're very good at finding better excuses that stops them from changing their lives. So that's not good or bad. That's about you can. So we're going to go through this question that might be running in the background of your thinking. How can I make better decisions? Can I really make better decisions? Because I'm making my best when I make a decision. So how can I make better decisions? By changing your thoughts, but we'll learn how to do that specifically, because I'm going to teach you today 3 frameworks, which I'm going to share with you that in just a minute. And can I change before I'm forced to? Because we know very well that life sometimes forces us to change, and we resist. We resist and we say, nah, not now, that's too hard, that's too simple, let me think through, but we are actually thinking, we're not thinking, and we get a little bit confused. That should stop, and that will stop. We are going to learn today what makes me think what I think, what makes me think what I think, what makes me think the way I think, and what can I do to change my thinking. How can we do that? Would you like to know what makes you to think what you think, and to know what makes you to think the way you think? There are ways we think and we are not aware sometimes. Why do we think what we think? But after this masterclass, you will know how that happens and what can we do, because there are things that we can and there are things that we can't do in order to change our thinking. For that, we will need these 3 frameworks, these 3 perspectives: biological, psychological, and spiritual, because there are so many inputs in our brain. They come from all over the place, and that's great, because in that way our brain can keep working while we are sleeping, so that we sometimes wake up in the morning and we say, wow, I have an idea. Well, because there was a process before you came to that idea. And what can we do in order to come up with better ideas? And what can we do in order to change the quality of our thoughts so that we can change the quality of our life? All right. So Look now on the screen and look at these on the left: brainstem, midbrain, neurocortex. So before you look to the right: instinct, feeling, logic, safety, conditioning, and thinking, which we're going to get there. The first framework is the biological. Let's first learn a little bit of, because if we can learn our biology and study our psychology, we can open our spirituality. And the spiritual is the third framework that we're going to use. Now, let's jump on the blackboard and I'm going to draw the best way possible. You can draw with me. If you are a better drawer, then you can applaud your picture or send it, because that would be great. So let's try to draw a brain, something like this. All right, something like this. Now, if we look on the lower part, that's what I'm going to simplify it a lot. So if you are a student in neuroscience or in biology or psychology, then you know that we can say much more to it, but we just need the fundamentals so that we can grasp an idea about what happens in our brain biologically. So that's what is called the brainstem. The brainstem is the most connected part to our body. That means that from our spine, from our nervous system, this is the fastest way. This is the first place where the signals comes into. And this part of our brain it's also called the reptilian brain. It's responsible for our safety or life safety, or our life and death. Am I safe or am I not? Can I survive or can I not? So if our life is at risk, we don't think. The thinking is somewhere in the neurocortex later on. We don't think, we react. And many people react out of these instinctual inputs that get in our brain. And we sometimes think that we made a decision, but we actually been conditioned to. We're going to get to that. Now, in the middle part, as the name goes, the midbrain is where most of our emotions and the feelings are being processed. Which I want to add a note here. It's true that the whole brain works at the same time and it's very interconnected, but it's also true that sometimes when we touch just a part of our brain, a function just goes out. It just goes off. So it's true that it's interconnected, but at the same time, there are some organs which, without them, nothing can replace that function. So, yeah, we're simplifying as much as we can here. Now, here are some organs. Maybe hear about the amygdala, fight or flight, and things like this. This is all connected to the emotions and most of the thalamus, hypothalamus. There are other organs. Oh, I fall in love with the details. I was studying neuroscience. Hardly could have pull out myself out of falling in love with the details. And the more you know, the more you want to know. Now, in the midbrain are processed our emotional thinking, our emotions. Now, in the neurocortex, which those who believe in evolution, they say that this one was evolved, this thin layer was evolved much later. I'm a man of faith. I believe in God, so I'm not into that. We had this, then we had that, No, we are made in God's image. So I'm not on that side. But this is not a lesson of history or pastoral course. This is a little bit of biology, and we're gonna jump very quick out of it. Now we have this thin layer which is called the neurocortex. Here is where the thinking takes place, and it's very slow. The brainstem is the fastest one. We instantly can react to something. If we see somebody's in danger, or somebody that is, especially when something dear to ourselves, we can immediately jump without even thinking. We can react out of that. Sometimes, for example, let's think about this way. If your business is in danger and you don't have a financial cushion, you don't have any buffer, and you're at risk, and if the business goes off, and you are at risk, then you feel that your whole life is at risk because maybe the safety of your family depends on it. So of course the brainstem is very activated in that moment. Now what to do? We'll see in just a second. Sometimes we have some emotions here, and again, we're not in time, the emotional aspect, we're not in time to think them. So what is the problem? Let's put it this way first. What's the problem here? That some people jump out of the instinct and they make decisions. Some people felt something and they jump into decisions. And they don't filter it through the thinking. And you might say, wow, that's great, that's amazing. What to do? We have to learn our instincts. When you start to go through a moment of fear and you think that, oh my gosh, if I fail at this task, everything is going to be, I'm gonna fail completely in life. My business is gonna run off. I'm done. I'm smashed. Probably you're not thinking rationally. You're not thinking it. You're not thinking light. You're reacting to your brainstem. You're reacting to that instinct. Now, it doesn't mean that not thinking it or not taking it in consideration, it goes away. No, but we have to create a gap between feeling that fear, processing it, thinking it rationally, so then we can make a decision. I'm sharing this with you so that at least you know that there are some parts of our brain which is one is responsible for one function, another one for another function, the neural cortex is for another function, even if it's not 100% this way. So when you feel an emotion, you don't jump on it as, oh, I have this emotion, I've got anger with my worker or my employee in my business, and then you start to make a decision, I'm gonna fire you. Or then you start to put some rules which are crazy, which don't have to be there. And after a few days, you say, my gosh, I should have done this. Well, now you know that there are parts of our brain which are good at some functions. So now at least you know that sometimes when you feel something, doesn't mean that that's your thinking. Doesn't mean that those thoughts are your thoughts. You might feel, but that doesn't mean that you are forced now to make a decision. So at least now you know that there are functions, and that doesn't mean that that is you. Those are your thoughts and you have to think them. Now if you look at all the slides, we have the instinct, the basic level, then we have the feel, and then the logic. Now what we can do is to learn how to change the direction between bottom up and top down. What does it mean? That means, am I aware that now my safety is at risk and I'm making decisions and I'm thinking something about my business or about myself, not because I think I decided to think, but because I've been conditioned to think that way, where you have an emotion that is got there. Now where does it come from and how you've got to that feeling, that's another conversation. But when you are going through a feeling, through an emotion, it is yours, but that's not you, and you can process it and you're free to decide what to do with it. Now you can play with it. This is not right or wrong. So now how can you play with it? Once you make a decision, you can make a decision in the neural cortex and connect with your emotions and connect with the impact that is this going to have in your life as from the safety perspective, so that that decision is well made because it is made by your whole system. You can play with these feelings, with this instinct, consciously connecting them, using them, but not deciding that if you feel something, that means that's your thought. If you've got a fear where you are at risk, doesn't mean these are your thoughts. Now, your thoughts are when you detach from those emotions. So you can learn to count 10 seconds, or you can learn to wait 2 or 3 days. For me personally, I know that life important decisions, not the most number one decisions, but life important decisions, I need at least 3 days. Why? Because I can process them. I can process them emotionally. I can see what's the impact, or make sure, isn't these the idea that I have that if I fail at making this decision, then I'm lost and everything is it goes south if I'm going to make the wrong decisions. When you feel that you're going through this kind of processing, you are not really thinking. It comes from your fear of safety, life or death. Something is at risk. This white and black contrast. Or your emotions are blurring your thinking. You must to wait enough time. Now you can learn to do it much faster. You can do it in seconds. You can also not engage with those emotions so that you can get paranoid. You can get to that level. But for the beginning, detach from what you feel and wait as long as it needs so that you can start to think rationally and start making decisions which are not conditioned by those instincts or by those emotions. Now, I'm gonna have some questions for you which are going to help you to recognize these patterns. Am I thinking my thoughts or are my thoughts making me think? Is that thought that I have in my head right now that in the next 3 months I have to do this thing in my business or I have to change my life in this direction? Where from have that thought came from? Where from did it came? Was it a fear? Was it an emotion that triggered that decision? Again, this is not right or wrong. Sometimes out of some instinctual reactions, we can make some crazy moves and we can take some risks, or we can make bolder decisions which we maybe could have not done if not that emotion or that instinct. It's absolutely true. But at least to know and to do it consciously. So the first question, am I thinking my thoughts or are my thoughts making me think? Because if you have some thoughts that somehow accumulated there and you're processing them and you have no idea where they came from, you've got a problem with understanding your mind and you're tricked by your own mind. Next question, are my emotions decision-making factors or guidance for introspection? Emotions are great. They can help you to find a conflict or a great alignment. You know, the joy, the feeling of like, I'm on the top of the mountain. Oh, I'm a winner. That's great. Okay, good. Maybe it's something that you really like and you want to try to do it again. Or maybe there's some anger. Okay, why do I feel that anger? Probably because I haven't prepared well before I jumped onto execution of this task. And it's normal. I don't have enough skills. I haven't built that skill. So of course I feel this way, but doesn't mean I have to think it. And doesn't mean that I have to jump into making decisions just because I felt it. Am I harnessing my fear to push forward or is it hijacking my system? When you feel that everything is at risk, I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna make it, and everything feels that you're so scared and anxious, and it's like very similar when public speaking, when you have to speak in front of somebody. Or I remember the moments when I had to speak in front of the camera for months. Of course, I know it's just a camera, but it happens so that when you're in front of a camera, the whole system goes off. Why is that so? Because the brainstem is so connected to the safety and reputation that I have that, oh my gosh, if I say something, the whole reputation might go and it might be destroyed, or I might say something so dumb and everybody that knows me are going to change the mind of what they think about me. Okay, no problem. Of course, that's no problem. But at the beginning, the brain does that on its own and you cannot really control that at the beginning. But what we have to do is to start to learn these phenomena, this process by answering these questions. So now we have that piece of paper that I suggested you to take at the beginning and ask yourself from 1 to 10, how many times I find myself during the day thinking thoughts that I have no idea where they came from? How many times during the day are my emotions decision-making process? I felt an emotion and I jumped on the decision. And how many times I take time to understand where this emotion comes from? Is this a useful emotion or is this a destructive emotion? And how to use the fear of changing, probably looking forward or looking backward and say, my gosh, I can't stand that anymore. I have to change. I've got to get out of that situation. And of course, it's fearful to fail, but don't allow that to immediately make you to make decisions. Allow it to fuel the decision-making process so that you can make a decision, taking that in consideration. So now when you look at one of those three questions that I've shared with you at the beginning, am I wired or am I fired? Is my brain doomed to struggle? It depends on your intention to recognize past habits and learn new ones. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. Not to be or not to be, but when to be, because the sooner you can start to recognize, the more intentional you are at recognizing past habits. Why past habits? Because it's very easy to make decisions because of the emotions or because of the instinct reactions that are going on in our brain, in our system. It's easy. You make a decision, but then it's a dumb decision. Now, using these three questions, you can answer honestly. And memorize these questions. So now, every single time when you find yourself making a decision or thinking, ask yourself these three questions. They are going to change your life. And remember that your brain is complex and is there not to make your life worse. And your brain is not there to confuse you. And your brain is so complex not because it's there to make your life harder. It is so complex so that it can perform so many complex processes at the same time so that it can help you to make your life easier. If you're willing to intentionally learn your biology. And now you know that your brain does what your brain does. But you can now take that in consideration and not jump to the conclusion that I'm just wired this way. I am just this way. All right, but you can change. And now you know how. And these three powerful questions are going to help you to do that. All right, that's great. Moving forward. Before we move forward, a reminder for you. You are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your feelings. You are the steward of the gifts your Creator has entrusted to you. You've got something that's boiling in your system, and you look into the future, and something is boiling. You want to get there, and you have some emotions, you have some instincts that are pushing you. Your drives are telling you, go here, go there. That's amazing. These things are not there to make your life harder. They are there to guide you so that you can start doing what you can be the best at and what you're the most efficient at. And if there are some emotions, they're not there to stop you. They're there to guide you, to correct you, so that you can take them in consideration and see, oh, there is something that I have to pay a little bit more attention. There is something that I thought that it's in a way or another, but let me take a short break from it and let's see, why do I feel this way? Why do I start to think this way? And let's start to control our thinking, to start to become aware of our thinking, not through feeling, but through taking intentionally some time to think, so that you can then make sure that your thoughts are conscious, are intentional, and you're not bounced from one wall to another. Now let's look at the psychological aspect of what we learned biologically, which we have already started to connect. The drives, the emotions, and the thoughts. The drives are there because of the behavioral conditioning. That means something that happened to you before made you to be driven by something. You have a drive that's pushing you towards something because of something that's residing in your soul, or maybe because of the behavior which conditioned you to appreciate something more than something else. For example, if in my family, science and mathematics were always appreciated and were requested from us so that we can learn and study well and take good grades. That's why I liked mathematics, because I had to have good grades, but not because I love it. So because of that, Most of the times, I would look for something creative. When I have to find a solution to my problem, I would jump more to creativity. Let me figure out something. I don't want to jump into mathematics because I'm done with it. So much mathematics, I don't want to use mathematics every single day. Now, who knows? If I wasn't forced to learn mathematics, maybe I would have loved mathematics today. It's a very simple example that because of what we didn't have, where we had too much, where we didn't have at all, there are some drives which are formed within ourselves, and that drives our behavior. But doesn't mean that we have to jump again on making decisions. The emotional conditioning and the cognitive conditioning. What does it mean? That means that from the past events that happened to us, but they actually happened for us, because now we go through an emotion every single time we satisfy a drive or we don't satisfy a drive, then we go through some emotions. There are our current ties that sometimes makes us feel small or weak, or makes us feel a little bit too forced, too conditioned to make a decision or to avoid them. But this again is not bad or good or bad. They are there to correct, to guide, and to show us areas in our lives and our thinking which requires a little bit more of our attention. And the thoughts are our cognitive conditioning. Now, in our thoughts is where we form our beliefs. So when you have this conviction that if I don't achieve this goal, if I don't become this, don't get that role, or I don't get to that number, then oh my gosh, I'm a nobody. Wait a second. I know many entrepreneurs goes through these phases. Every single time there is a goal to be achieved, and it's a little bit bigger, or sometimes even the same as the previous one. Anxiety and oh my god, and they use it, but every single time it becomes such a suffering. It becomes so painful, and the decisions then are made and not in the best way. And then one stops and is asking, is something wrong with me? No, it's nothing wrong with you. Now you know that you have drives, you have emotions, and then you have thoughts, and you can connect them so that you do not jump into anxiety and fear, and you don't start to think what you actually are not supposed to think, and you can be investing that time into thinking something different. So do not despise your drives, and never hate what's driving you. That's your setup. Your drives are those few things in your life which are always going to push you forward. Do not despise it. Just because you haven't learned until today how to harness that power, and you make dumb decisions because of those drives which are pushing you forward, doesn't mean that this is something bad within you. They give you this setup. Look, is in that direction. Now you can choose the scenarios. You're free to choose what you prefer the most. But look, I have something for you which is always going to be your fuel. Isn't this amazing? Look at your emotions as the corrections. Don't hate them, don't despise them, don't suppress them. Don't use them as decision-making factors. 2, look at them as the correction. Okay, I have this anger. Why do I feel angry? Is it something that probably have to change? Probably I haven't changed until today, but I'm angry with myself. Why I haven't changed it until today? Why, if I put 2 or 3 hours today to adjust that thing in my business, in my systems, in my process, or in my life, in my thinking, in my behavior, and the way I communicate, if I try to change it right now, so that I don't have to go through anger every single time I bump into the same thing which could have been changed for so long time ago. So use your emotions as correction currents that are guiding you, and also are kind of turning on. It's a red lamp that's saying, hey, I need your attention here, come there, look at there, your life's a little bit sucking here, you gotta pay a little bit more to this skill, because every single time you want to apply this skill, you suck, you don't do a good job, so you probably have to invest a little bit of time into that skill. So emotions are great if you know how to use them. But this doesn't make that this is you and these are your thoughts, and you have to think them, and then you start to think them, then it's like, oh my gosh, my life is a disaster. No, it's not. And use your thinking for strategy, for vision. So put your mind in between what's driving you, emotions which are trying to correct you, and the vision that you have for yourself. And do not identify your reality, your thinking, your life through a thought or another, because your thoughts can be conditioned by your drives, by your emotions, by your vision, by your strategy. There are so many inputs. Do not believe that your mind is your written scenario for your life. Your mind is there to serve you. The purpose of your mind is to serve you. Your job is to learn it, to study your psychology, to learn your biology, so that you can open up and you can go through with ease. Of course, it's not easy, but you can go through it with ease. And I can assure you that when you start to become more aware of these processes, then it becomes a game. You look at your thinking and you start to understand when your mind starts playing tricks with you, your life can be so much easier. It can be so much easier. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it's going to be so much easier when you start to learn how your thinking process works and what your thinking requires. It requires information, correction from your emotions, considering your drives, looking forward, and starting elaborate steps. That's what your mind is there. Do not hate your mind and do not identify your essence through your emotions, through your drives, or through even your thoughts. They are there to serve a purpose. The purpose of thinking is not thinking. The purpose of thinking is to get better at thinking so that you can execute better, making better and faster decisions so that you can close this gap between where you are and where you want to get. Let's move forward. How can I make better decisions? We had this question right at the beginning. Depends on your ability to recognize the players and fully accept their existence, while acknowledging yourself of the freedom you inherently have to change them. Your ability to recognize the players and fully accept their existence. They are there, accept them. Trying to think that, if I don't have emotions, then I'm going to be a better leader or I'm going to be a better human. Oh, you sure? If you didn't need emotions, why God has put emotions within you? We need them. They give so much color to our existence. They help us so much. They make our life so more connecting. We can connect emotionally. We can feel what we do. So we can also enjoy while we're doing the work. That's amazing. So let's stop hating our emotions. But we have to know and to accept fully their existence. They're there. All right, good. I'm going to pay attention to it and see where does it lead me. And how can I use that fuel to make better decisions? So of course you can make better decisions. And you'll see one thing that you'll see this huge big change in your life when you will start to play this game of recognizing your emotions, your drives, and your thoughts. When you start to realize that these are the players, you'll understand that the players are not the purpose of the game. The purpose of the game is to win or to create some greater things, outcomes of whatever the game is made for. The players are not the purpose of the game. Play with them, accept them fully, and do not hate them, so that you can free yourself from the power that these players can have on your thinking, so you can make these decisions faster and better, and you can change your life. As the promise went in the beginning, and not tomorrow, not in a year, not in 10 years, not as this long theory goes, it's a process. Everything is a process. Everything is a process. Yes, it will take time, but you can make the decision now. Not waiting tomorrow. We are around 40 minutes, 35 minutes into this masterclass. You can start doing it right now. Whatever you're feeling now, ask yourself, why do I feel this way? If you're pushed forward by fear and look at the watch, sometimes you look at your time and you say, oh my God, and you make a decision. Again, start applying, start training this muscle of not allowing fear or instinctual drives to make you think something or to make a decision or another. Start with the basics. Start with the most simple situations, so that when you find yourself in your business that you want to hire, when you want to invest into something, when you want to take a partner in your business, then you can detach from what you feel, from what you're pushed, from that fear thinking like, if I do this, I'm gonna be okay. All right, are you sure? Not really, because now you're conditioned by what you feel and what you think and what are your drives there, and it seems that you're making a decision, but you're conditioned, and only in time you'll see if this was great or not. What if we can do that, anticipate that? Now, I have other questions for you now, before we move into the spiritual. Cognitive conditioning. Am I shaping my beliefs, or have they been shaped for me? Because sometimes, if you look closer, everything negative that you know about yourself, isn't this interesting that everything we know bad about ourselves, we've been told, we've been taught that way, and sometimes we live our life, our entire life, with this belief that only these people deserve this, only if you are like this, you deserve that, only if you do this, only then you're gonna get that. Sometimes that's great, sometimes this is a principle, sometimes this is a law, sometimes it's a belief that we've been conditioned to think for ourselves, but this is not something that we have intentionally built as a principle in business or in life. So this is amazing when we start to ask these questions, uncomfortable questions. Next one, emotional conditioning. Do I respond to emotions with awareness, or do they dictate my reactions? Very simple example, when you have a conversation, a tough conversation in business with someone, and when somebody says something that you know it's not going to work because you're more experienced, your emotions are telling you, listen, stop talking because you don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes we can say that, but what's most important is that you can become aware of the emotion that you've been through and ask yourself, why do I start hating this person just because they haven't been through what I've been through and they don't know yet? So value the person, respect the person, then come boldly with your perspective, or lead even better the person to come to the conclusion that you came to. You can do that. You cannot become a greater leader. You cannot become a good leader if you want to inject your experience into their heads. You've got to lead them, helping them through the questioning, through questions, showing them and asking them how they could do it so that they can come to that conclusion. This is a transformational leader. Now, you cannot become that if your emotions are conditioning your thinking, and if you react according to what you feel. Goodbye growth, goodbye awareness, goodbye transformational leader, goodbye success, because you are reacting to emotions, making decisions which are not thought. You have not intentionally processed them. It's something that you can do, and if you can do it, then you must do, because it is essential. The third question, are my habits intentional, or am I operating on autopilot? How many habits do you have in your life which are there not because you've decided to, but because they are comfortable and they're easy to use? And because they're easy to use, you believe that they are yours, and you have to repeat them, and you have to continue to do them while you are trying to change the decisions that you make or the outcome that you want out of those decisions, but you haven't paid attention to the habits that you have. And because you're driven by doing something, and you're always driven by something that you really care in your life, and that fuels your habits. You can change the direction of your drives. You're driven by accomplishing things. How can I direct it in such a way that I don't jump into making bad decisions and start thinking badly about me and about everybody else and seeing only bad scenarios in front of me just because I'm used to thinking a way or another, or because I'm used to practice that habit of thinking or feeling. This is mostly about the most that we've got for the three questions that now, if you're intentional, if you really want to get out of this masterclass a different person, then write them down. Yes, you can take a picture of this screen, a screenshot maybe of this, or what you see now on the screen. But even better, to see them in front of your eyes and write them down. Write them down and answer them. How many times I answer to my emotions, not being aware of them, but I react to them. How many times I operate on autopilot, I do this, I do that. What do I do morning to night, every day? Take a week and look at everything you do during 1 week and see how many things you do without a conscious decision. It's time to change, and you can do that. Spiritual. What is the spiritual aspect of our thoughts? Thoughts can come from different places. Our thoughts can come from Satan himself. They can come from our drives. They can come from our emotions. They can come from our past. Our thoughts can come from our God. Our thoughts can come from other people. Our thoughts can come from other stories or experiences that we've been through in our lives. So many thoughts can come in our thinking. As you remember in the beginning, the brain is a very complex thing and it's constantly working. But at the same time, we're not only that brain, because the brain needs something else in order to think. While you are looking at your emotions, who is looking at those emotions? Who's observing those emotions? Who is realizing your thoughts? Oh, I'm thinking about this. Why have I thought about this way? What if I think this way? Okay, well, let me think. What are the 3 things that I can do today in order to solve this problem? What out of these 20 actions that I'm going to take today are going to move the needle and help my business grow? Is every action serving a purpose or not? So who's doing these analysis? Who is observing? Who is looking up into your thinking? Who is that? That's your soul. That's something more than just your thinking. It's your essence, and your soul is always there and telling you, and through intuition, through some this ability to observe things and serendipities and observing things and observing behaviors. That's not just thinking. That's also something that makes you to pay attention to one thing or another more or less, or to value one thing more or less. So we have a body, but we have a soul in our body, and our soul is a part of the divine, is a part that you cannot manage your soul. You can take care of your soul. You can make sure that you maintain a good health for your soul, but you cannot decide when your soul comes, when your soul goes, and where it came from and where it's going to go. That is partially on your responsibility, but that's another conversation for another day. Think about your thinking about your body this way. This is the earth. This is where it happens, but the seed is God's seed within you. Stop hating the earth just because sometimes the earth is dry, just because sometimes the earth is not the most favorable part for that kind of tree. Stop blaming the heat, because there are some trees, some palms that we can that can grow in the heat, and there are some oranges. Where are the in the hottest places on earth? In Sicily, around not far from the equator, the juicy oranges are also around the equator. So stop blaming the heat or the equator because this is not favorable, this is not for me. Yeah, it depends what kind of tree you are and what's the purpose that you have here on earth to accomplish, and your soul is there to guide you and to maintain this connection with God through your soul, with your thinking, with your body. So let's not despise the earth. Let's not despise the seed that God has put in us, or because the dreams that you have, the desires that you have, do not despise them. Wanting, desiring, it's godly. Putting the desires above God is earthly, is in the opposite direction. Wanting to please God, wanting to serve people, wanting to grow, wanting to build a bigger business, to serve more people, wanting to grow, wanting to have a family is godly. Most of the times I see in entrepreneurs that there are 2 extremes. Those who forget about empathy and forget about people, and there are others which instead of leading, they're so connected to, I don't want to come across as too arrogant. I don't want to come across as too confident. I don't want to come across as I know it all. If you know what you know, if you're good at what you do, do better, do more of it, serve more people, and you're going to get better and better along the way. Because the perfect person that you can serve is right beside you, around you, where you are now. When you get better, you'll be surrounded by different kind of people, and you'll be the greatest for that environment where you're going to be later. Take the being on you and the growing, God is going to take care of that. So let's not be afraid what God has there for us, just because we don't understand it fully what it is and how is this going to happen. Respect your desires, fuel your desires, know your drives, know your wantings, know what you want to accomplish. Use that, apply it, work it, make it better. Do not run away from that. Because if your body is like your earth, these are your desires. You already want something. We're kids, we already want something. I want this, I want that. Now, the seed is there from God, but then we're pushed to work. We're pushed to work. When you find that gift that God has for you and you start to make it better, you say, oh, I didn't know that being happy is so easy, and you're not so focused on being happy. You start being focused on how can I serve more and how can I grow that seed that God has put in me? How can I make it? How can I multiply it? That becomes your obsession, not how can I be happy. Therefore, God is going to bless you with happiness if you follow what is already there within you, with your participation, which is doing the work upon those desires, upon those drives, and simply reminding yourself to not put that above God. That's within you for a purpose, is not there to be pleased above God. And the blessings are the fruits. If you look now on the screen, and the blessing, the fruits, you will get those fruits. Focus your thinking on what are my desires, what I'm good at, what I would like to become better at. Ignore the emotions which are telling you that you're not good enough, or that you become angry because you are in the process, or because you're anxious about the future, or because you are sad and resentful about the past. We can explore those areas and heal wounds from our past. We can explore our psyche. We can explore what's in front of us and the direction. But let's not allow that to decide who we are, and let's not allow that to decide what kind of questions should I be thinking today, just because I don't know why did it happen, what happened to me, and when am I going to accomplish what I've set my mind to accomplish. The past and the future are not yours. What you can do is now. And what is your job is to take care about these inputs that are coming in your mind, and making sure that you do your best within your mind now. In the meantime, you can explore the past and look and see, maybe there is a belief, there is an emotion, there is a wound that makes me think in a way or another, and I think that what I'm thinking is because I'm thinking because I want to think, but actually you are conditioned to think. This is a huge difference, and that's what you can do already now. I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Who you wish to be, you could be, and who you could be, you can be. Who you can be, you must be. Now, my question for you is, what kind of thoughts are you going to have after this masterclass? What kind of thoughts are you going to allow? What kind of thoughts are you going to think? Thoughts which are provoked by your emotions, thoughts which are there because of your past, or thoughts which are processed, which answer questions. A thought that serves a purpose. There is a question. How can I accomplish what is the best scenario, and where to put what I can put so that I can get where I want to get, because I wish to get there. Now, what can I do now that would allow me to get there so that I can do, and then you repeat the process. So remember, your thoughts are there for a purpose. Your thoughts are there to answer questions that your job is intentionally, consciously to ask. Freeing yourself from behavioral conditioning, emotional conditioning, or cognitive conditioning. In other words, beliefs, emotions, and feelings and drives. Rather than using them, whereas you can use them and get the whole picture, use this setup so that you can act boldly and move forward. Strive for true being, and God shapes your becoming. Be the best of what you can be now, and God will bless you so much. Focus your thinking on how to be better, and the becoming will take place. Let me share with you one other thing. Right this morning I was reading, if you open the book of Joshua, the first chapter in the verse 6, 7, and 9. I'm going to read just a few words. And at the verse 6 it says, "Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. For you shall give these people possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give them." Next, only be strong and very courageous. It's repeating itself. It's saying, just be strong and courageous. Oh, no. God says, let me say it again. I think God has a sense of humor. You'll see very soon why. And it says, only be strong and courageous. God says, I just want to emphasize a little bit. Maybe you haven't listened. Only be strong and courageous. Let me emphasize that. Now, in the verse number 9, then we read, "Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous?" Have I told you that? I just want to make sure. Maybe you were distracted. Let me tell you again. Have I not commanded you? I've told you that, right? Be strong and courageous. Now, I want to bring your attention to not only to be strong and courageous, but to something even more. God didn't tell Joshua, hey, figure out a strategy how you can become more strong and courageous. No, God says, be now strong and courageous, and I will do the rest. Make sure that you don't allow your thoughts that make you weak. Don't allow in your head thoughts that make you doubtful. Don't allow thoughts in your head that make you resentful. Don't allow thoughts in your head that make you anxious. Don't allow thoughts in your head that make you hateful. Don't allow these thoughts. Be strong and courageous. Not all thoughts deserve your attention. Not all thoughts are your thoughts. Be now, because you can be. God says, be strong and courageous, and I will do everything else. So that's why strive for being. God shapes your becoming. Now you know where to look, and I really wish that you pay more attention to your thoughts. Know your biology, study your psychology, open your spirituality to whom gave you the biology and the psychology. You are invited to come at Exploraselfmba.com, where we teach self-mastery, self-growth, and self-leadership. The easiest way to begin is with the program. It's a free program at Exploraselfmba.com. Hack your mind before it hacks you. Discover the most powerful tools to transcend your mind and unlock your inner potential. It's a program which you can go right now, register, create your student account, download the slides, download the manual. You have a workbook, a manual, the slides, so you can print for yourself, so that you can do even a deeper work in your thinking, so that you can hack your mind before it hacks you. Here our masterclass ends. It's almost an hour. Your life can be different. And if you wish it to be different, it could be different. And if it could be different, you can change it. And you can change it right now. Wish you all the best. And now the pen that you had in your hands, it should be starting answering the questions that you wrote during this masterclass. Subscribe to this channel, support my work, and if this was valuable to you, if this is something that you really want, somebody that you know, a friend, or somebody that is struggling, and you think that this is going to help them, share it, subscribe to this channel, and I will be blessed and more than happy to serve you more. See you in the next masterclass. Thank you, take care, bye-bye.